Welcome to the Michigan Man Podcast on Wolverine Sports Radio, a member of the V Sporto Network, and in partnership with SB Nation's Maize and Brew, for Wolverine fans from coast to coast. Go Blue and welcome to the show. I'm your host, Mike Fitzpatrick. On this month's Michigan Man Extra, we have part 2 of our interview with Michigan great Dr. Billy Taylor. We've had a lot of great running backs come through the program, but Billy Taylor was one of the very best. He had that rare combination of speed and power. He played on some great teams and put up big numbers in his 4 years here. For those of us fortunate enough to see him play in Michigan Stadium, it wasn't called the Big House back then. We knew we were watching a great running back, and we're certain we would enjoy watching him transition to the NFL and become a star. That never happened. In the months following his final game for Michigan, Billy Taylor took a gut punch from life. His mother passed away shortly after the Rose Bowl. Shortly thereafter, the uncle that was so close to Billy in his formative years killed his wife, Billy's aunt, and then took his own life. Then just 4 months later, Billy's girlfriend was murdered in Detroit. All of that happened in an 8-month period, and Billy was supposed to be preparing for his NFL career. It was just too much for him to deal with. For the next 25 years, it was a downward spiral. He never made it in the NFL, became an addict, was married, divorced, and even lived on the streets of Detroit for many years. It didn't look good for one of the greatest athletes who ever wore the wing-tipped helmet. He was down, but he wasn't out. Billy Taylor got back up. He went through recovery, continued his education, and has gone on to a life of helping others cope with and overcome the same issues that brought him down. It is a remarkable story. Part 2 with Dr. Billy Taylor is up next on this month's Michigan Man Extra on Wolverine Sports Radio, a member of the V Sporto Network, and in partnership with SB Nation's Maize and Brew. And that is so much to happen to a young man at that point in your life with so much of what you were hoping for is a bright future in the NFL. So the NFL career was never to be, but as it has been your theme and your motto through life, it's get back up, and you did. You moved on, you got your master's, you got married, you had 3 children, you had a good job, but that didn't last again, did it, Dr. Taylor?
No, it didn't. The depression came back. I was, as you mentioned, graduated, got married, 3 children, but they're all grown and gone now, thank God. But the depression, I was working for General Motors, and I got laid off. It was a reduction in workforce, and I'm at home with my young ones, and the then wife was still working, and I just started thinking about all the losses in my life. My mom, my uncle, and aunt, my girlfriend. And I got depressed all over again. And I started to drinking. And once again, those listening, somebody that's going through something, encourage them to get some help. Don't make the bad decision that I did. I'm going to keep it to myself, deal with it, and I can handle it. And a lot of that is from my athletic background, as you know, Mike, that, we got high testosterone levels. So, I can handle it. I'm a man, don't be weak and all of that. But that's not true. Life can throw some blows that'll knock you down, to your knees, and there's nothing wrong. There's nothing weak about asking for help and getting help.
Well, at that point, Dr. Taylor, when the downward spiral continued, it was 2.5 years in prison, living on the streets of Detroit for roughly 25 years. Just, you had to be at a point where you thought, this is the way it's going to be. How depressing. Yeah,
as you mentioned, I hang with the wrong people, getting locked up for the very first time in my life, and it was very serious, 30 months. But it was actually kind of going back a little bit. It was after that experience and that I got married and started the family, and then the depression, um, back again. But I had to carry on. I went into this downward spiral, as you had mentioned, drinking and drugging, eventually winding up homeless on the streets of Detroit for like 2 years. And it gets very cold, as you know, in the Midwest, in Michigan, and in Detroit in the wintertime. And it was an experience that I'll never forget, but I am so fortunate and blessed that it's in my rearview mirror. But having, being a guy, a man, all of that, and the testosterone, you don't ask people for help, or I didn't, which was a huge mistake. And you can't win that battle. As you know now, that's what I do. I have Get Back Up Incorporated, which is a 501c3, a residential substance abuse facility in Detroit. But and I'm the founder, the president, and CEO. But it's just so unfortunate that people get caught into that trap of addiction, and you don't reach out for help. There's a lot of help out here, but you have to. But with me, hey, I'm Billy Taylor. I'm All-America. I play football. I can handle this, and I really couldn't. And that was an admission that was difficult to make. And that's why I encourage people that are going through something, that are listening, or you've got family members that are going through something, abuse of alcohol and other drugs, and alcohol is a drug. You got to get them some help. They can't do that thing alone. But yeah, it almost destroyed me. 25 years of just being able to work a little bit and then not work. I could get a job, but I couldn't keep a job because of my addiction. I mean, I lost everything, the marriage, house, car, respect. But finally, August 17th of 1997, I was brought up in church. I had been praying for years for God to help me overcome my addiction. But it just wasn't happening, and I thought my prayers were falling on deaf ears. But August 17th of 97, I heard a voice. It was William Taylor come forth, just as clear as we're talking. And I was brought up in the church, and we always, profess to have faith and trust in God. But you're going to be tested, and I was tested. But I didn't think that the Lord was listening. But on that day, I know what I heard. That was August 17th of 97. And this coming August 17th will be 21 years since I had a drink, drug, or a cigarette. And life has been good, ever since that day. I haven't had a bad day in over 20 years. And some people say, that can't be true. But I'm telling you it is, It's all relative. What is a bad day, Mike?
Exactly.
For a bad day, as I knew it, was being homeless, cold, hungry, no house, no car, no money, the clothes on your back, and dealing with the elements. Those are bad days, okay? When I say I haven't had a bad day, I'm not talking about I haven't had a headache. I had one of those yesterday. Or I haven't had a time where my employees didn't do what they were supposed to do. That wasn't a bad day. Or, those things are just life. And when you stop dealing with issues and things that happen to you day to day, that's just life. When that stops happening, then you're gone. You're no longer here. You're not living. Okay. So, get over it. But, this whole experience brought me to the realization that we should be very, very grateful for each and every day. Just this morning, before we did this podcast, as soon as I woke up, I'm like, thank you, Lord, for another day. And for those listening, once again, I'm not greater than thou. I'm not a preacher or a prophet or anything like that. I am a teacher, but I recognize that there is a higher power,
Yes.
and that you can't go through this life, I don't think, successfully and with peace without that higher power. And you have a choice of, who and what you want to believe in. And to me, Jesus Christ is Lord. I was brought up in church, in my life. I got sidetracked, but I had a foundation. And dealing with substance abuse, this is one of the big issues with younger folks coming in that never had a foundation other than drugs and alcohol and wheeling and dealing, And so my staff and I, we're trying to implant in them a foundation of sort, but the men, it's difficult for the younger ones that didn't have it growing up. They know what they know, But on this foundation thing, I had that. I lost it due to depression and tragedies, but eventually I was able to come back to that because when I woke up, when I heard that voice, I knew I had to stop doing what I was doing. That I was blessed, that God is, for whatever reason, is giving me an out, how I can free myself from this drug and alcohol addiction and get back on track, So I remembered that there were times when I didn't drink, when I didn't get high, and when I worked and I, had savings and I respected people, all of that, and so I could remember. I said, I got to get back to that. But as I was mentioning earlier, a lot of 20s and 30s and some 40-year-olds, when we get them into treatment, they never had that foundation. And it's very difficult to implant it, if I may, in them, or teach them about, self-respect, respecting, others, and that lack of respect and self-respect and the substance abuse added to it. That's why, in my opinion, so many tragic things are happening in the world today.
Well, Dr. Taylor, you wrote a book, your autobiography on your life experiences. It's titled Get Back Up, which we've mentioned during the course of this interview. It also happens to be the name of your treatment center, and I believe you opened that in Detroit in 2009. Share with us what the vision and the goal is with Get Back Up.
Well, Get Back Up is, as you mentioned, it's a residential substance abuse facility that I founded in Detroit on the west side, and we are moving to the east side. I bought a convent on the Archdiocese, and we should be open hopefully by the end of this month. It's been a year of renovation, but this is what I do, and I've been blessed to recover from my addiction, and now it's all about helping people and changing lives, and that's what Get Back Up is about. We deal with addicts, with people addicted to drugs and alcohol is a drug. Just because it's legal and you can go to the store and buy it, that doesn't mean it's not a drug. Because I have some people come in sloppy drunk, staggering, and I don't use drugs, I just drink. I say, okay, you do not get a trophy for that. But that's simply what we're about. I had to decide what I was going to do in life after recovering, and I had to pick something that we all gotta. I wanted to pick something that would be about helping people, and in addition to that, we all have to make a living, right? Because we have bills, and so I started Get Back Up, and I knew there was a great need, and for rehab in the lives of many. I haven't met anyone that didn't have someone in their family that has an alcohol and or drug problem. So I decided to start this drug treatment facility, and thankfully there were a number of caring people that were not just willing but able financially to donate to my nonprofit. So I got started doing that in Detroit.
Well, it's an incredible story, and as you said, it is so important for anyone we know or love to encourage them to ask for help, not wait, not think you can handle this type of an addiction or substance abuse situation yourself and overcome it. There are people that can help you, and as you mentioned, you have to make sure of the source and who it is that is going to help you. I was wondering, through all of these years, you talk about when you go back to your days playing at Michigan, what an impact Bo eventually had on all of his players, or many of his players. What impact did he have not only on you during your days at the University of Michigan, Dr. Taylor, but after, through all of those difficult years?
Oh, well, as I mentioned, I didn't like Bo when I first met him, and very few of us did. But we grew to love this man, and I've lost both my parents, and of course we lost Bo several years ago. But my mom and Bo are probably a couple people that I think about almost daily, crossed my mind. He had that big of an impact on me, and I believe I'm speaking for the hundreds of other men that played under him. I credit my experience at Michigan and lessons learned from Bo and the other coaches on the staff, that whole Michigan experience, as that's how I was able, through the grace of God, to get my life back together and turn this whole thing around. We were taught to work hard in Michigan, to never give up, don't quit, to believe you can achieve victory, know that you can overcome mistakes and obstacles and all of those things. And when I heard this voice and I started thinking about, I didn't used to live like this. And I had always trained and prepared and had goals and thought positive and all of that. I had a foundation, and a lot of it came from my mom, and a lot of it came from my Michigan experience, and particularly the influence of Bo Schembechler. Now, like I said, I think I'm speaking for pretty much everybody that played for him. I mean, he was a tough man, make no doubt about it. He pushed us hard every day. But, as you know, his old saying, those who stay will be champions. And we, after our first year, during our 69 season, we realized, that this man knew what he was talking about. Nobody outworked us. Nobody outhit us. Nobody was more prepared to play than us. And we went into games with that confidence, whoever it is, we're going to beat you. We're going to play fair within the rules, but we're going to outplay you. We're going to out-hustle you. We're going to out-hit you. And, it's a physical sport. A lot of people say hit you, but life can get physical too, and those type of lessons and that type of attitude helped me to get back up, because I had fallen way short of those things I just mentioned. And that wasn't me. And that's something what addiction will do. It'll make you become someone that's not you. And, once again, older folks that come through the facility, like, in their late 40s and 50s, and we get them in their 60s, most of them in that generation, Mike, have had some exposure to God, to faith, and learning the basic things about respect of others and self-respect. And so, I'm able to tap into that and say, hey, man, you haven't always been like this. You haven't always lived like this. Come on, But a young guy, they have always been like that. They have always lived like that. That's what they know. I credit my experience at Michigan as being an integral part of my recovery, because I had the right attitude. Well, it was the wrong attitude at the wrong time, that I can overcome my addiction. I can handle it myself. That came from the testosterone and the coaching.
Right.
I can handle this team. I can beat them. They're not going to beat me. I'm going to beat them. But with addiction, it's not like that. To win in that battle with your addiction, you got to surrender. You got to give up. But that's not sports. Sports, you're taught never give up, never quit. Always believe that you can handle it. But addiction is a whole different game. You cannot handle it. Those listening, those that have family members going through drug, alcohol addiction, they cannot handle it on their own. That's a falsehood. But particularly with men, I want to have a female facility one day, but with men, too often we don't ask for help because we think it's a sign of weakness, but it's really a sign of strength.
Well, I think your story, Dr. Taylor, clearly is one that each and every one of us can learn something from, a story of success, tragedy, addiction, perseverance, and in the end, transformation and happiness and getting back up, as you've mentioned so often. Can you tell the listeners how they can purchase a copy of the book, Get Back Up? And is there anything they can do to support your work at Get Back Up?
Well, we accept donations. Get Back Up is a 501c3. You can write it off. I'd like to give our website, which is my initials, btgetbackup.com. Just that simple. BT for Bill Taylor, GETBACKUP, btgetbackup.com. And it'll tell you what all we do, my story, what our goals are at Get Back Up. And all the contact information is there, but donations is that's how I was able to start this facility. And I know a lot of people would like to help, but are not able to help. But I was blessed to be able to meet someone that was able and willing and able, and that's how I got started. The book, I think people are still getting it through Amazon, but Perseverance Film. Mm-hmm. Perseverance Film is a way to get it, or I can be contacted through my facility. But Perseverance Film is where most people have been getting the book. It's available. Get Back Up, the Billy Taylor story.
So we'll get that link for your website out on the show notes page. Of course, we're mentioning it now, so www.btgetbackup.com. It's chock full of your story and just what you do at the treatment center. It's an amazing website, so I'll have that in my show notes for our listeners to check out. It's inspiring. It's just absolutely amazing, and you can also find out where to donate and help Get Back Up. Well, Dr. Taylor, before we close it out, I can't let you get away without talking to you about our current state of affairs in Michigan football and see what a great Wolverine thinks about what's happening with Coach Jim Harbaugh and the program. Are you confident Jim has the program primed for success now?
I am confident. I always have been. I'm one of those people that reached out to Jim when he was still coaching in the NFL. And there was talk about him possibly coming, and I called and went to his voice message. I said, Jim, please, this is BT. I've known him since high school and of course know his dad. And please come back and turn this program around. Well, Jim sent me a text, and he thanked me for my comments, and God blessed me and my family. Well, knowing Jim as I do, I knew he was going to come back, but he was still coaching in the NFL. There's nothing much that he could say, and I truly wanted him to come back, and he did. And we had a campaign going, not just myself, but probably hundreds. I know 10s and 20s of former players were reaching out to Jim to please come back, but that was my plea directly to him. Jim, please come back and turn this program around. And I think his initial year, he did that, and I think he has continued to build a program that will put Michigan back as leaders and best and champions of the West, and it's a process to it. Coming up to, this year, I think this will be his greatest season at Michigan. We have lost some people, but we retained a lot of really good people, and we're bringing in more individuals. It takes a little while, in most cases more than a year or two, to build a program to be successful. Like all the time. We as Michigan, fans and Michigan faithful, we're spoiled. You know what I'm saying? But I'm proud to say that, because, we have the winningest record in NCAA history. And even with all the losses to the Buckeyes and the Spartans, our primary rivals over the years, we still have our leaders in that competition. We beat both of those teams more than they beat us. Even, giving up so many losses over the past, decade. But we have a quarterback, and I've been watching him on film. He's been on campus for several months now, Shea Patterson, and he shall be eligible to play. I'm sure you've heard about that, right?
Yes.
But this guy's the real deal. All that I can say, I'm still going to wait and see what he does in a Michigan uniform, because we've had other people coming in highly touted, as Bo would say, but it's what are you going to do now? What are you going to do here and now? And but he has all the signs of really being a great quarterback and a person that can contribute to Michigan's success, and that's what's been lacking. We haven't had great quarterback play. Since going back to Denard Robinson, he wasn't the best passer. He was good when he was good, but he can move and he can make things happen. He can impact the game, and we haven't had quarterback play that's been able to impact the game as needed. Our defense has been playing very well. Some people talk about the offensive line. I think that our line is good. Can it be better? Yes. But I think Jim has the players and the skill sets that he needs in the skill position on offense and defense to put together a championship team. I'm high, if you can't tell, Mike, on Michigan this year. We're gonna be there, because I tell you, season tickets, I go. It's been brutal. Real brutal before Coach Harbaugh, not to mention the other coaches. I love them both, Coach Rodriguez, Coach Hulk, but we hadn't been getting the job done. And, this is Michigan. Some folks may want to say we're arrogant or whatever, but we are Michigan. We're the champions of the West, and people expect us to win, if not every game. No, don't lose no more than one or two. And don't lose to the Buckeyes and the Spartans, whatever you do.
Amen.
But we're the short story. I have high expectations for the 2018 team, and that we get the quarterback play that we've been lacking. If we had better quarterback play, and I'm not knocking Michigan, I never will, but I'm just saying we could have won the past 3 seasons 2 or 3 more games, and now I think that void has been filled. And I was telling Jamie Morris on one interview on TKA, we don't have a Tyrone Wheatley or a Jamie Morris or a Rob Lytle in the backfield. He said, nor do we have a Billy Taylor. I said, well, I didn't say that, Jamie. You said it. I said, but I'll take that. So those are a couple of areas that I think we've been lacking. True enough, some other positions, we've lost a lot of people, but it's Michigan. You lose somebody, or somebody go down, someone steps up. But in those skill positions, in the quarterback and running back position, I think we have that covered. I can't call this another kid that's coming in that's a running back. I can't call the name. It slips me right now, but we're going to be in great shape. Defense wins championships, and our defense should be great, and our offense is going to be able to step up to the plate and get the job done. Because we have to have a quarterback that can put the ball into tight places and protect the football, be accurate, whether it's short or long, and be able to change the game and make an impact with his feet, and this young man, Shea Patterson, appears to me to be that guy.
Well, we all hope so, and everyone that listens to this show says amen. We hope so, too. We will find out in September. Our guest here on our monthly Michigan Man Extra for all of you listening out there is Michigan great Dr. Billy Taylor, all Big Ten All-American, and as Dr. Taylor and I were talking about before we started taping, a lot of podcast listeners are a wee bit younger than some of us who've been around for a while, so although you hear Dr. Taylor's great run against Ohio State on my show Open, as Dr. Taylor and I have also talked about, our younger audience, that they can Google it, they can find it, they know who Dr. Billy Taylor is and the other great players that have made Michigan football what it is. So it's been wonderful. We had you on once before, Dr. Taylor. It's an honor to have you on the show, and we look forward, sir, to your next visit.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. And regarding the Michigan fan and the students, I was surprised when my film Perseverance, the story of Dr. Billy Taylor, is going to air again. I just want to mention in June and the Saturday before our opening game against Notre Dame on WADL TV. I host a radio show now that's on every Saturday morning from 6 a.m. to 8 a.m. I hope I can mention that to the audience. And it's 9:10 a.m. 9:10 a.m. the Superstation. And only on Saturday mornings from 6 a.m. to 8 a.m. But we talk about sports, breaking news. Not a lot of sports, ironically, but breaking news, what's happening in individuals' lives on a day-to-day basis, current events, gun control or lack thereof, any and everything. And I hope that people listening can tune in on Saturday mornings and check me out, 9:10 a.m. Superstation. You can download that app or stream it on Facebook. And it's fun. But I wanted to mention the Michigan people, the younger folks. They know who a lot of us OGs are, because I remember when we were filming Perseverance, I was honored on the field. That was in 2012. Coach Hope was playing, and we beat the Buckeyes. I think that was the last time we beat them. But everybody was yelling my name, young and old, and I saw a couple of current students. I said, did you know who I was, who I am, prior to this event today? They said, yeah, you're Billy Taylor, All-American, blah, blah. I said, now, how do you know that? I said, how old are you? They said, 19, 20. I said, I got jackets older than you guys, I'm like, they said, we do our research, Dr. Taylor. We know who you are. I was like, okay, I'm impressed, But that's the Michigan faithful, the young people. Many of them are aware of a lot of us guys that came way before them.
And that is so important. Pay homage to the great players such as yourself who have created what all of us as Michigan fans, young and old, revere, which is Michigan football, and why we can't wait for September and hopefully a return to glory for Michigan football. But again, Dr. Taylor, an honor having you on the show. You're welcome anytime, and I'm sure we will have you back. And a reminder to our listeners, I'll have this in my show notes, but Dr. Taylor's website is www.btgetbackup.com. It's just chock full of information about Dr. Taylor's past, which we've talked a lot about today, and about his very, very important work at the Substance Abuse and Treatment Center in Detroit, and some of the new things happening, as he mentioned, purchasing a convent for additional space and services from the Archdiocese of Detroit, and the radio program on WADL in Detroit. We'll get that up in the show notes too, Dr. Taylor. So once again, thank you, sir, for being so generous with your time on this rainy Monday morning as we record. And again, we do look forward to another visit soon.
Thank you, Mike. Thanks for Michigan, and go blue, my brother. Take care. God bless.
Thanks again to the great Dr. Billy Taylor for being our guest on this month's Michigan Man Extra. If you would like to learn more about his important work, visit www.btgetbackup.com. That's www.btgetbackup.com. We're on our summer schedule right now, and we'll resume weekly programming in August when football practice starts. Our next show will air on Wednesday, June 27th. Steve Lorenz will join us for our monthly recruiting update. The weekend of June 23rd is the biggest visit weekend of the recruiting cycle, so there should be plenty to talk about. So mark it on your calendar. Wednesday, June 27th, our June recruiting update with Steve Lorenz from 24/7 Sports. Until then, I'm your host, Mike Fitzpatrick. Have a great Wolverine week, everyone. Take care, enjoy some of the great weather we're having, and as always, go blue. Thanks for joining us today on The Michigan Man, here on Wolverine Sports Radio, a member of the V Sporto Network, and in partnership with SB Nation's Maize and Brew. Our listener lines are open 24/7 for your calls at 313-263-4842. That's 313-263-4842. Or email us at themichiganmanpodcast@yahoo.com. That's themichiganmanpodcast@yahoo.com. The Michigan Man Podcast is produced at the studios of Robin Lynn Productions, Allen Park, Michigan, and is not affiliated with the University of Michigan. Go Blue!